Hi there YouTube, I'm a very opinionated person and I just saw Inside Out 2 and it was pretty good. So I'm not the biggest fan of the first Inside Out. I don't think it's by any means a bad movie, but I definitely think it's overrated both in terms of its creativity and its general placement within Pixar's catalog. Between that and the fact that this one is from a first-time feature director, I must say I was a little bit nervous as to its quality, but man, I was really pleasantly surprised. The animation and texture quality are as incredible as you've come to expect from Pixar. I mean, honestly, it's pretty much par for the course at this point. But I think this is the first Pixar movie I've seen that blends different animation styles. Don't get me wrong, this isn't like Spider-Verse or Mutant Mayhem or anything to that sort of stylistic extreme. It is still very corporate and sanitized. But here and there, the movie does decide to incorporate other styles of animation, either mishmashed with the 3D characters or just like quick side sequences. And yeah, I guess technically the first Inside Out had that too in like the shapes scene that I'm just now remembering, but my god, it's night and day, that both the creativity and the actual impressiveness of the animation between this movie and that one, at least in the respect of different animation styles being utilized. The voice acting was absolutely fantastic. There were a couple of recasts, more specifically Disgust and Fear. I don't know, I guess Bill Hader's too expensive or something these days, but the recasts fit perfectly. I noticed that Fear sounded a little different for maybe the first 2 minutes, and then it all just kind of stopped being noticeable. And the new additions to the cast are absolutely terrific. Ayo Edebiri is great as she is in fucking everything. And I would honestly say Maya Hawke was probably the single standout performance for the entire movie. I don't know, she just brought a great energy to the role, like she has in pretty much everything else I've seen her in. Most of the comedy is great. The visual and physical gags especially stand out as being very funny and well thought out and well timed. The actual themes and emotions the movie is going for in this one do feel a lot deeper and more resonant than they did in the first movie, but that very much could be a subjective factor due to my age rather than any sort of objectivity in the filmmaking. This movie is also a lot more creative than the first one, at least in my opinion. It kind of like takes the premise from the first and runs with it, where I think you could really easily compare the first movie to like lots of SpongeBob cutaway gags or that Herman's Head TV show, or really just lots of other places where the whole concept had already been done. This one just feels like it does a little bit more with it, and I like that. And man, the emotional climax was absolutely fantastic. I genuinely cried. It was great. There are some negatives to the movie. A couple of jokes are predictable and groan-worthy. The first 5 to 10 minutes are kind of weak, but you also kinda gotta give it a pass. It's mainly weak because it's setting up everything you need to know in case you're a family who just brought your child to the movie without having seen the first one. Or maybe you haven't watched the original in the 9 years? Good god, how old am I getting? If you haven't watched the original in the 9 years since it came out, I guess the first few minutes do work pretty well as a refresher, but just the general tone and dialogue is a very noticeable step down from the rest of the movie. Like every now and again, it kind of returns to that same tier, but never for very long. Overall, it was a great time, and again, it moved me to tears. I giggled, I smiled, I cried, I cringed, I felt all sorts of things. It was great. And whilst I don't think it's like a super amazing movie or anything, this is probably the most I've enjoyed a Pixar movie since their downward streak began. This is one of their best in a while. It was really good, and I'm giving it like a moderate to a strong 3.5 stars, 7 out of 10. Very good. Check it out.